Today is January 19th, 2020. I'm interviewing Mr. Richard Hubbard. When were you born?
Morgan County,
When?
1930.
How did you grow up?
Grew up on the farm, Greenwich.
Tell us about your life, how you grew up, how many brothers and sisters.
Well, I didn't have no brothers and sisters. I was the only one my mother had a good life. And I went, as I grew up, I worked hard in my life. Worked on the farm. And on the farm I worked on, as I got around about 12 years old, then I had to go out and start to work on the SG farm up there. The men were born to cutting off. And what I was doing, come behind and busting the middle out. The men's got $1 there. And they give me 50 cents a day. That's back in the 40s. And one thing about it, when you're 12 years old, you coming out that house, you do some work. At meat, you got to pay, you go to work. And I've done that for years. Now I'm 89 years old and I'm still working and feeling good health and strength. Went to my doctor here, we pulled about a month ago, had my checkup and everything. He took everything about my blood pressure and everything. He said, Mr. Hubbard, I can't find nothing wrong with you. I said, well, Doc, let me get out here and go back to work. Went back home then, got out of my yard, raking leaves, cutting grass, stuff like that. I'm always busy. Said, my dad, you talking about my idle mind is their workshop, but I never did have an idle mind. Always had something I had to do, I wanted to do. And right now, I'm 89 years old, I'm still got that same notion to do something for myself and my family. I have 2 daughters and 2 sons. All of them grown up and on their own. And I thank God where He brought me from to get the age I am.
What's the name of your business?
These are all paintings. The painter.
When did you start?
I started back in 1959.
Okay, what do you do?
I was a painter, and a cook, and a chauffeur, and a busboy.
Tell us about some of your jobs that you had, like.
Well, I had odd jobs, painting for different people. I painted, about every house around in Morgan County. And I done a lot of painting on it. Right now, I kept it 57 years. Then as I got 70 years old, I retired. And I wanted to get up, draw my Social Security. And that's what must I do? I got to take everything out of my name and put in one of my children's name. I had one would take it, that was Johnny Hubbard. He the one took my business over. And I turned over everything to Johnny. My bank account, my house, car, trucks, took everything out of my name where I started drawing my full benefit from Social Security.
Can you tell us about your experience cleaning up at the bank?
Oh yeah, I worked down there for years and years, 20-some, 30 years. Worked down there. I was a janitor there at the bank down there. In the morning, I had to be down there to get cleaned up. And when they open up, everything be clean. And I done that for about 30 years. And I was a cook about 30 years for Miss Wallace, I cooked for her. And I was chauffeur for her for years. And I done that up until I got married and everything, had children, my kids, and all the kids grown on their own, my grandkids. Got one taking my number right now for the benefit that I done down through the years.
That's good. What was the name of the bank?
Back in Greenwich.
So can you tell me about your education growing up?
Well, when I was growing up back in the 40s, it was my family stayed on the SG farm up there. And the only way I got a little bit of education I did get, it was too wet to do anything on the farm. Then when it got dry enough on the farm, Dad had taken me out to school and put me in the field working. And I didn't get about a 4th grade education as far as I went in school.
You tell me about your experience in the Great Depression, that era.
Well, back then, it was rough on a black person back then. When you went and worked and got paid, and pay for your little, got your little bill to pay. Back about it, we didn't have too many bills to pay because it laid out our own meat and everything, our hogs and everything, I have our own garden and everything like that. But when we come out, we don't have anything, we didn't have nothing to put up. Everything had gone out. But the only time we had to put up anything, we put up some peaches, lemon around desserts, plum dessert jelly, stuff like that, blackberry jelly and stuff like that. And then we take it and made a living. Well, what we could have, what we did on the farm, we put back stuff. Back then we used to can stuff. Go out and pick blackberry, have blackberry jam, jellies and things like that. And fatback meat. Didn't have no steaks or nothing like that. Don't know what it was. But all we knew was in the meat line, nothing but fatback. And that's nothing but it's real good. It's still good.
You talk about a little bit about your church life growing up.
Well, my church life, my dad called him, he wasn't my dad, he just raised me up, called him Bo Weaver. He the one got me interested in church. I got interested in church at the Spring Baptist Church back in the 40s. Well, he was the janitor in Union Spring Baptist Church, and he used to take me down on Sunday all the time and get ready for service on Sunday. The Bible meeting time, he took me with him, and on Bible time, get the church ready for the Bible. Now, I grew up in the church, and I'm still in the church. I stayed deacon on Deacon board 40-some years. And my son got old enough, all the son and daughter both was in church. In other words, back when I got stepped down from being chairman of the board for 5 to 40 years, I told them just like this. I said, y'all can elect anybody y'all want, but I'm stepping down because I think I've done my time being chairman of the board. Now, chairman of the board, and also was the treasurer of the church. Everything. I stepped down and had a meeting one day and elected my first son chairman of the board. And he's still chairman. That's Richard Jr. He's still chairman of the board.
Okay. What was your mom and dad's name?
Corrine. My mother's name was Corrine Brown. Corrine Hubbard. And my daddy was named Porter Hubbard. They stayed down on number 12 on a farm, and that's where I was born. Not number 12 in Brothers, Georgia, 1930.
Okay. What did they do?
Worked on the farms.
What's the name of your children?
I'm looking at one right now, Jamie Marie, older one, Mary Ann, oldest son, Richard Jr., we call Bubba. Johnny is my youngest son, we call him John.
Good.
Met John just like that.
Right. Can you tell me something about your experience being African American growing up?
Well, I grew up as a janitor. I worked on the farm, and I did that. I left the farm and come to Mr. Wallace in Rutledge. And I worked on the yard around there, in a chauffeur farm there, and I cooked on there, and I worked at the bank there, janitor at the bank, done that there for about 20-some years. I cooked for about 30 years, and that's all I have done until I started my own business.
How did you raise your kids?
Well, I raised my kids that's about like my dad raised me. Respect yourself. If you don't respect yourself, how you expect anybody else to respect yourself? I raised them up, showing them how to do different things. My boys, I raised them up how to work, cutting grass. My daughters raised up. I kept them on around the house, clean up the house and everything. Back then, we had to keep the yard clean, everything. I had to clean the yard up. You didn't have no yard broom, you had a brush broom. Got the wood and cut some bushes. They make a brush broom out of it. That's where we kept our yard clean. And my wife, Ellen, she kept the house going inside the house. We stayed together for about 40-some years, 50 years, something like that. Then we separated. I stayed separated for a few years. And I got tired of being alone. And I said, I find me somebody. I'm gonna marry somebody. Then I married. When I made my mind to get married again, I went to dating Rebecca Solomon, and she stayed in Covington. I went with her several years. And I said, I went to her one day. I said, hey, I never recalled about it. I said, hey girl, what about just getting married? She said, let me think about that. And she thought about it. She come back, went back, went to her one day. She looked at me and said, you know what thing? I'm gonna marry you. I said, well, you get married then. And we made a mind getting married. It's Love Goss. He wasn't married. He was the preacher. And he wasn't married.
Can you tell me about the pastors in the old church?
We had the old church, we had one called Reverend Johnson. He was Johnson, but him and Johnson, they was kind of clean, everything. And he stayed there for years and years, and we called Reverend Moore. He stayed there. Reverend Lett, we called him. He stayed for several years. And wound up, like the last one that we remember I could get was Reverend Brooks. He stayed there for several years. And we got Reverend Benjamin Lett. He stayed there for years and years. And I'm 89 years old. Now I'm at Union Spring yet. There's a new church. I've been here for years and years. And the oldest deacon of Union Spring Baptist Church. And Love Goss Jr., he was on the usher board. And that's all it was. We was on the usher board. Back then, we had to ring a bell on a Sunday morning for Sunday school. And we used to tone the bell. When I had a funeral there, we see the ambulance coming, you gotta tone that bell. But now they don't do that anymore now. They just can't bring you on in. Back then, we grew up in the church. I grew up in the church. I remember my Union Spring years, about 40-some years. I didn't remember Union Spring Baptist Church for 50 years. And I'm still at Union Spring Baptist Church.
That's good. How did you guys keep the church cool and warm?
Well, one thing about it, in the wintertime, we had a big belly stove in the middle of our church there at Union Spring, old church. And with me and my daddy, he was my daddy, he raised me up and I called him daddy. His name was Man Odom. And we go there early, had a big belly stove set in the middle of the church. We would make a fire in there. And we get fire, and when the people start coming, after we rang the bell, we don't open up and everything. If we were sitting around the church, around that stove to keep warm, because back then it was cold, and we couldn't, no heat or nothing like that, but that stove. And when the church get warm enough, then we go to our several different corners, like that amen corner, behind the water and everything, we go like that. But we come from that, we got from that then, for years and years, we not got that. And over now, we got central heat in that.
How did you get your first house?
Well, we got my first house. Well, the first house, I stayed with the Wallaces. They had a house in the backyard there. That's the first house I stayed in after I got married to Alan Hubbard. And I built my house later. I tried to buy some land when there's water down, but just below where I stayed at there. And she told me, no, Richard, we don't want to sell none of that land down there, only save it. When I definitely I want the land, the house, go to my children. Okay, I said, thank you, ma'am. And I was going back on the farm I was raised on, buying some land up there. Because there was a spring down below there. I put me a pump in that spring and pump water up to my house, keep me had to dig a well. But Miss Waterman, they got wind of it. And see, how I do that, she said, Richard, I heard about you move back from your farm. I said, yes, ma'am, I am going to move back up there. See, what you would do if I said, I'm going to give you that land down there, what you want to buy. I said, I give it to you. I deed it off to you. And they did. They did that land where I got my home built now. there was to be a pastor there. We had horses and that and everything. And now my home sitting there where I had them, all the cows and horses and things there. I've been there for about 30 years.
If you had one or a couple things to say to someone, what would you say to them? Either advice or information?
I would tell them that now. It's going to make you successful in life. Get behind your good church, get into it, and live a Christian life, and raise your family up in the arm in the love of God and love for their fellow man. Because we cannot live in this world by ourselves. We've got to have friends and neighbors around us to do the thing for us, like I did my kids. I was there for my kids, through thick and thin, I was there for them. And number one, I had a little bit problem out with the oldest son, Richard Jr.
Okay, this was an interview with Mr. Richard Hubbard. Alrighty, thank you.
Mm-hmm.